Welcome back to the lab. Okay, we're going to be talking about fingerprints now. And this lab has 5 parts to our exercise, and we'll roll through these. The first one, we're going to be actually talking about latent fingerprints. So those are those invisible prints that are left behind from the oils on your fingers. And they can be left on many different types of surfaces. Like this cooktop here, this is a glass type cooktop, and if I put my hands down on it, you can easily see that fingerprints have been left behind. So we're going to be talking about how do we actually capture those as part of our evidence and our crime scene process. If you are doing this on your own, you can go ahead and you should have a glass slide for your microscope. You can actually apply your one fingerprint to that. If your parent or teacher is working with you on this, then they should have provided that or done that for you ahead of time. Left a fingerprint on that slide because you're going to be talking about and working through how to actually retrieve that fingerprint off that slide and determine which finger from your suspect actually left it. So either way, leaving your own fingerprint or your parent or teacher has done that for you. The second part is we're actually going to talk about actually rolling fingerprints so we can identify which finger is actually on there. Okay, now we're going to talk about actually obtaining the fingerprints, and you should find this in your lab book. This is a 10 print card, so most people have 10 fingers, right? So there is a space for each finger. So we're going to talk about how we actually roll the prints. Yes, it's a rolled print to actually show what each finger looks like. You should have in part of your kit an actual fingerprint pad. This is an ink pad for fingers. You can find this on Amazon. They're really cheap. It should be part of your lab kit also. Now, when you're going to roll the prints, if you're going to do this yourself, we're going to show you how to do that. If a parent or teacher has done the lab slide already, they should have prepared one of these for you in advance. But we're going to talk about how we're going to actually roll these prints. Across the top line, it's your right hand. On the bottom line is going to be your left hand. Now we're going to start from out or inside to out, right? So we're going to start with our thumb. In order to obtain the print, we're going to take the thumb on the pad itself, and we're going to start from the outside edge of the thumb, and we're actually going to roll across the thumb from edge to edge. And it's hard to tell that you actually have something on there, but it's there, and we're going to do the same thing leaving the print on the card. We're going to roll from inside edge to outside edge. It's a little difficult to do. You will need to take some movements to actually make that whole roll go through. You should have something that looks like that for your thumb. We're going to do the same thing on each of our fingers. We're going to start from the inside edge to roll to the outside edge. We're going to go one by one through that for each of the fingers. Okay, so we've got our 10 print card here all made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash my hands, and we're going to come back and we're going to pick up things after that. Okay, now that the hands are cleaned, we've got our gloves on here, and let me make a recommendation for you. Before you move into this next part, 2 things. 1, I would highly recommend that you wear gloves for operating in this particular next segment, and 2, that you do this in an area which would be easy to clean, because there is the potential of this becoming very, very messy. The fingerprint powder is very, very fine dust that has a tendency to go everywhere. So if you don't want it to go everywhere, or somewhere you don't want it to go, make sure you're doing it in a place that's easily cleaned up, okay? Now, we're going to now practice removal of that print. Remember that print we talked about that was on the slide? That's a little bit harder to pick it up with my gloves. On the slide. So how do we retrieve this particular fingerprint that was left here by my video producer or by your suspect in your crime scene, right? So how do we retrieve this particular fingerprint? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to dust the print to try to lift the print. So that's what we're going to do. So you should have a brush that is available for your fingerprinting, and your fingerprint powder. Now, as I mentioned, this is very, very fine powder, and we don't want this to go everywhere, so hopefully I don't do that myself, okay? So we're going to collect some powder here, and we don't want it too full. So we've got some on our brush, tap off the excess, and we're going to lightly spin this here on our surface, and it should reveal our print. And we've got it showing up here a little bit. Let's see how this turned out. So in the center of our slide here, we do have what resembles a small print that's left here. Now we can see it. Now how do we retrieve it? Well, here comes the next part, right? So we're going to take some of our clear tape you should have in your kit, and we're going to take a piece. I'm going to actually remove some of this because some of the powder got on the front part of it, so we'll set that aside. So for a fresh piece here, we're going to pull up enough of this that I can now lay this down right onto our slide. And we're going to make sure that it's adhered pretty well to the slide. It's going to pick up the print that we've identified here. And we're going to peel that off of our slide. And get yourself a clean index card, and we're going to roll that tape out onto our index card. And we'll be should see on your index card in the center there, the fingerprint of what was left on your slide. So now we've identified it, we've seen it, we've retrieved it, and now it's ready for further investigation. Okay, so now we have lifted our print, and now we can actually utilize that for identification. But before we do that, let's make sure we take a few seconds to actually clean up some of this workspace, because we don't want to accidentally have stuff go everywhere as we're trying to do the next part. So make sure you close up your fingerprint powder. We remove our gloves. We do that, one goes inside the next one, and then we'll set those aside, out of the way, as we move on to identifying the fingerprint type that we're going to be doing. So if we need to identify the actual individual whose prints are on here, it's going to help us to know what type of fingerprints. Because if you remember in our module, we talked about loops, whorls, tenting, and some other identifying markers within the fingerprint that's going to help us determine person and the actual finger utilized in this particular scenario. Okay, so if we look carefully at my particular print that I've lifted, I can see some loops and I can see some tenting on the actual fingerprint. So that's going to rule out certain fingers and individuals who may not have those characteristics within their fingerprint. So this one here, like I said, loops and whorls. Yours may be different depending on what fingerprint you lifted. So identify the characteristics that you're seeing in the print itself first. Now we're going to move into identifying the actual finger that was left here as our evidence. Now on my fingerprint card that was left by, or that we took from our suspect, which happened to be my video producer, yours might be your own, it may be your teacher, it may be your parent. Utilize the characteristics that we're seeing on the fingerprint that you've lifted to identify within your 10 print card. And remember, those fingerprints need to be rolled from side to side, edge to edge as you went through each finger. And that's going to give you a lot more characteristics to work from to identify which fingerprint was left here. Now in my case, I was able to determine that with the loops and the tenting of the arches there, that the right index finger was the finger left by my video producer. Yours may or may not be the same answer depending on what finger that your suspect utilized, but hopefully between you identifying the loops, the whorls, the arches, you'll be able to connect the fingerprint to the finger to your suspect. So there you have it. Those are the 5 steps of this particular lab. Hopefully this was as enjoyable for you as it was for me, and that you didn't make as much of a mess as I did. So until then, we'll see you in the next module.